So, something notable on the Night of the Living Dead is a showcase of cultural turning point in America, considering its release in 1968 and the choice of placing an African American man by the name of Dwayne Jones as the lead role. Additionally, in 1999, it was deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant and was later selected for preservation by the National Film Registry. This single film, which is arguably the founding father of modern zombie films, spawned a cult following and 5 official sequels over the coming years. The music in question, which was the theme of the 1968 original, holds a retro yet menacing ambience, withholding classical instruments to push along the emotion for the film. However, moving forward, iconic themes would continue to use some of the same methods to reach the core of the audience's fear, while introducing new instruments to the mix. This moves us to one of the most known horror movie themes of classic films, The Exorcist. Featuring tubular bells, originally featured on the debut album of musician Mike Oldfield in 1973, which was used in The Exorcist as of the same year, granting it instant credibility and popularity, contrast to its slow initial sales on release. The film using the haunting melody also grew in social stigma due to its imagery and what was known as the curse.
The curse of The Exorcist is people know about it. It's everywhere. The curse specifically in question is a few set disasters and deaths that take place before even the release. The biggest thing that happened was that a bird hit the circuit box, causing a fire to take place in the set house, which burned down the entirety of the house except the bedroom where the exorcisms take place.
Moving away from the filming locations of Iraq, Washington, and some places in New York, we now visit Haddonfield, Illinois, to strip down to a core piano tune that stuck with everyone from 1978 to present day, featured in John Carpenter's Halloween. Beginning with a simple 3-note melody, it does not fail to deliver a feeling of impending doom. A faint beat hidden behind the echoing piano, simulating a heartbeat, pulls the track's emotions straight to the viewer, before a menacing synth completes the orchestra. Written in nearly 2 weeks and filmed in just under 3, this movie was another instant classic among its prior inspirations and other films of that time.
Okay.
So, moving forward, these are some of the most known classics prior to the 2000s, but it is noted that a lot of them used different orchestral sounds and usually were very stripped down piano pieces, which is kind of the foundation of modern horror, given when you think of horror music, usually it's a piano that comes to mind. Ju-on, otherwise known as The Grudge more commonly, was released in 2004 and is amongst some of the most popular Japanese horror films that you'd probably think of when you do think of that genre. Sometimes listed as J-horror, which is kind of a US-based term for these films, its theme song was one that stuck out to us when we were looking at some of them because it kind of shows a turning point in movie horror. There starts to be more ambience, more extra noises in the background, and a lot of things that kind of define how we now think about horror music. The different shrieks, different noises, etc. Yeah.
It should be noted that the music, the Ju-on music, it is not as loaded as later entries, but it's a start to the addition of other sounds. into the music.
That is very true. I'm gonna leave that in. You said it perfect.
Yeah.
That said, following into kind of the plot and whatnot, I do feel that this song kind of supports the story of this vengeful spirit, etc., that are kind of haunting these people and everything. I feel like I personally feel like this was very well written, keeping in mind the entire plot and everything. So, that said, on the regard of pianos being so iconic in horror and ambient noises being introduced into film, it brings us to what is arguably, in my opinion, one of the most dreadful and one of the most automatically iconic and genuinely terrifying soundtracks that I have heard in a horror film, and a lot of people also back this up, which brings us to the film from 2012 called Sinister. So, one of the first notable songs that you hear I've seen it in some trailers, it's also featured in part 2 of the film, it's called Gyroscope, and
I can't stress how anxiety-inducing the music is, even though there's no piano in this song.
yeah,
It's also one of those songs that, even though in more modern music we have more piano and more background sounds, this is one of those ones where there is no piano. It's all droning, and I don't know how to describe it. It's almost ritualistic, which is what they were going for when they were making the movie.
yep. So, on the note of that, once again, really quick, you're in a spoiler zone, so keep mind of that. To go over some light plot points, it takes place around an author who writes about different murders and whatnot throughout his career. He's kind of in a rough spot in his life where he chooses to basically put his hopes in one last book that should be able to set up him and his family financially. You know, it makes sense. So the part that doesn't make sense is he doesn't tell his family that the house they're moving to is the house where an entire family was killed prior, which is also the subject of the book he's currently writing. Throughout the film, he begins to find these small film reels featuring footage of the families and the footage of their murders. Thus, a lot of the soundtrack that we're going to be touching on in this film is songs that take place during these small movies. This one in particular, which we're about to play in the background, another one that's basically struck fear in almost everybody that's heard it, is a very specific song that plays during a film inside Sinister, which is loosely titled Barbecue 79, which features a family at a family barbecue, and then later shows them being burned alive in a car. So this song does touch base a little bit on the original piano that we kind of were talking about, how piano is just this kind of catalyst for conveying horror emotions. That said, the big thing that begins to scare people is about the 2-minute mark inside this song. An abrupt stop where the piano cuts off and there's this voice that's just haunting and moaning or singing in the background, and you can barely tell if it's human or not. And this literally just continues for the rest of the song. And it is one of the most haunting sounds that I've heard in a while. Literally, I encourage you to go on. Like, I might even show some of it in this video. There's just comments upon comments of people being genuinely disturbed by this part. And at this point, you are hearing it in the background in the video, so I'm sorry if this is making you anxious. So it should be noted, after a little bit of internet sleuthing, we were able to track down that there was a Norwegian band founded in 1993 that goes by the name of Ulver. I do apologize if the pronouncing's a little off. It's Ulver. And I'm not Norwegian. I don't know how to pronounce it proper. That said, they released I guess an album or a song. I'm not entirely sure. It's also a little hard to like actually track down, but from the looks of it, it was released in 2007. This song or album or whatever it actually is called Silence Teaches You How to Sing. And this is actually the song that they sampled in Barbecue 79 for the piano and this haunting moaning melody. That is all actually from this 24-minute song. Like, the sounds that were achieved in this movie are unorthodox. They're non-traditional. You think of, like, prior to 2000s, it's a lot of catchy piano, and then even afterwards, it's a lot of piano with, like, ambient noises, but Sinister just broke the formula. They just went off and made one of the most terrifying soundtracks that I can think of in modern horror history. That works. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the video. And we got more horror stuff coming probably soon, to be honest. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.